and welcome back. I'm your host, Saran Almond, and this is What Would She Do? With recent reports on the increase in maternal mortality and morbidity rates, I thought, what can expecting mothers do to ease their concerns regarding their pregnancy, labor, and delivery? On today's show, we're going to give you the top 5 reasons why you should have a doula. But for those of us who don't know, what is a doula? Check it out. Okay, so we can't have this conversation without mentioning midwives. And so for the sake of this conversation, we're going to give you a brief overview of what makes a midwife different from a doula. Okay, so we've gotten the definitions out the way, but so often I hear stories a lot like my own. I had a very unpleasant pregnancy, labor, and delivery, but that's not everybody's story, and it doesn't have to be yours. It's amazing to me when I hear women say how nice of an experience their labor and delivery was, and I wish that was the experience for everyone, but unfortunately that is not the case. And right up next we have 2 testimonials from 2 women who are going to share with you their labor and delivery experiences. Stay tuned.
My pregnancy was horrendous. I found out the day I was pregnant I couldn't keep anything down until the day my son was born. I had been put on bed rest several times from not being able to keep anything down, which caused dehydration. So they had to put me on bed rest. So the night that I went into labor, I was actually sleeping on the couch. At the time, we had a water bed, and I couldn't get in and out of the water bed. So when my husband got up to go to work, I told him he was taking me to the hospital. I had been in labor the entire night. And when I got to the hospital, because I was exhausted, they had to give me an epidural so I could rest before I was able to deliver my son. When I went to delivery, because I couldn't feel the epidural, I stopped pushing, and it caused my son's shoulder to pop back in the birth canal, which broke his collarbone. And I wasn't aware until the following day when he was screaming bloody murder.
What was your interaction like with the doctors and the nurses?
The doctors and nurses were phenomenal. They always made me feel really secure about how they were taking care of me and what I needed to do to prevent an early delivery. And they were fantastic in the hospital.
Is there anything that you wish you had known prior to your pregnancy and delivery?
I wish I'd had, because of the morning sickness that turned into an all-day sickness through the entire pregnancy, I wish I'd have had more options.
My first pregnancy, I was 20 years old. Actually, I was 19. I had him when I was 20. And I didn't really know what to do. And I didn't really have a lot of people to talk to because I hid for a while because I was in college. But I was sick a lot. That was just, I guess, maybe the first 4 months, and then after that it was easy going. And then for my daughter, that was an easy pregnancy.
So describe your labor and delivery.
For both, I had a C-section. So with my son, he wasn't really ready to come. I think my body was ready before he was. I did most of my labor at home, just until I couldn't take it anymore. Or to the emergency room. I was about 6 inches dilated already. And he still wasn't making his way down. So they went ahead and started my epidural. He still wasn't making his way down. His heart rate started dropping. They even had to break my water. My water didn't break on its own. He just wasn't moving, so they had to do an emergency C-section. So when I had my daughter a couple years later, they had to do a C-section again just because they didn't want to risk any internal bleeding from my first one.
What was your interactions like with the doctors and nurses?
With my first pregnancy, not so good. I was on Medicaid, so they kind of treated me, kind of less than. I didn't really feel like I was getting the respect or the care that I needed. Thank God during my actual delivery that went well, but even going to the doctor and all of that, they kind of treated me like, second class. I felt like with my daughter, my second pregnancy, I had an amazing doctor, amazing everything for the whole way through.
I'm sure those ladies are a lot like myself. If I knew then what I know now, what would she do? She would definitely, most definitely have a doula. But with that said, I'd like to introduce you to my favorite doula, Miss Sierra Shula. She's a practicing doula here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And here's what you've been waiting for. The top 5 reasons why you should have a doula. And men, you need to watch too. The reason why we have babies anyway, okay? Watch.
The top 5 reasons any woman should have a doula. Number 1, support. You can be married, you can have your mom, your sister, whoever, but having a doula there to support you, advocate for you, and ensure that your wishes are met is like key. Support is not just in physical presence. Support is in comfort measures. Support is in making sure you're comfortable, making sure mom is getting what she needs. Support is also making sure that your partner or dad is actively involved in the birthing process. So, number 1, doula support. Number 2, doulas advocate. We advocate for our clients to ensure that they are receiving, number 1, all of the information that they need. So for instance, if your doctor is suggesting something and you're not comfortable to ask them that question, or even if you hear all these medical terms and you're totally unsure, we will definitely get that education for you, have those discussions with you, and go over that, and just to ensure that you understand what it is that you are being presented with, what it means, the benefits, the risks. We educate as well as advocate. And those two kind of go hand in hand. A lot of folks are told, get an epidural, it'll make it easier, but you don't know the risk that could come from epidural. You have people who have phantom pain in their spine, like in your lower back for years. That's a risk of having an epidural. You also have other things where, you may have leftover tingling in your legs. These are the things that you need to make sure that you're well informed of before you make that decision. Number 4, I would say for me, it would just knowing that I have someone there. You don't have to speak. A doula can be physically involved, or a doula can just sit there. We see things, we hear things, we know how to interpret different things in that room at the time of your labor and your delivery, and we will just invisibly help out. It's a presence. We're that one person that you can depend on, that we will not leave your side throughout the entire process. And number 5, doulas are working to end the maternal mortality and infant mortality rates, which are high in the United States.
It's apparent that information and education are key to a more pleasant birthing experience, but you don't have to go it alone. For more information on Sierra, on how to become a doula, how to find a doula, and even to read my blog, visit my website at www.whatwouldshedothe.show.com. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Also, you can follow the show on Twitter and IG at WWSD_the show. I'm your host, Saran Almond, and this was the top 5 reasons why you should have a doula on What Would She Do. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.